Looks like Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez are spending the 4th of July holiday apart. The Oscar winner, 51, was spotted out and about in Los Angeles, California, on Wednesday, while the On the Floor hitmaker spent time in New York City. The pair's marriage has been plagued with divorce rumors in recent months, and it seems as though they're adding fuel to the fire by not spending the annual holiday together. The Argo star was snapped heading into his LA office while clutching his signature iced coffee in his hand. The filmmaker, whose wedding band was visible on his left hand, was dressed in a navy suit atop a light blue shirt unbuttoned at the top. Affleck, who recently wrapped filming The Accountant 2, flung a backpack over his shoulder as he appeared downcast during his outing. He was later seen smoking a cigarette as he hopped into his vehicle. Meanwhile, 2,469 miles away on the opposite coast, J-Lo was pictured back home in the Big Apple on Wednesday. The Grammy-nominated singer sent a message to the world opting to wear an extremely cropped top with the words, "J-Lo be my mama," emblazoned across her chest. Lopez, 54, had her rock-hard abs on display thanks to her Barely There shirt, which she paired with a pink cardigan and low-rise dirty baggy jeans by Acme Studios, $620. She accessorized with white sneakers and a Dia Riviera Lady Dior bag, $5,200. Noticeably, the mom of two wore her wedding ring on that finger during her outing. The sighting comes as the Selena star appeared in a J-Lo beauty promotional campaign in which she posed without her wedding ring. Despite being ring-free in the clip, Lopez did wear the sparkler for her Coach marketing images that were shared over the weekend. However, it's unclear when she posed for the photos. Last week, Page Six heard that J-Lo and Affleck's marriage had been over for months. Other insiders told us earlier this week that the Oscar winner, 51, and Love Don't Cost a Thing performer, 54, have been selling pieces from their art collection after putting their $60 million estate on the market.
So you guys know the verdict isn't out with me. I am still hopeful. I am not throwing in the towel on these two. I love their love. I love the fact that she got the man that she wanted, in spite of all the naysayers. People like Ben Affleck's best friend, Matt, who didn't want them together. He advised Ben Affleck not to marry her. But I still have hope that these two are not done as yet. They're still going to continue to work on their marriage, and they're going to come out victorious in the end. Listen, that's my hope. The next clip is Ice Cube. So everyone was expecting Smokey, one of the main characters, to be in the next Friday movie. So Ice Cube explained the reasoning why he was not in the movie. Chris Tucker was not in the movie.
Ice Cube reveals why Chris Tucker turned down $12 million to reprise his role as Smokey in Next Friday. In 1995, Chris Tucker starred alongside Ice Cube in the classic film, Friday. The actor and comedian playing Smokey is one of his most widely known roles. However, he wasn't a part of the film's sequel, Next Friday, which was released 5 years after. Ice Cube has come forward to clear the air as to why Tucker didn't return to the big screen as Smokey. Following the success of the first installment of the Friday series, Tucker was asked to reprise his role, but he chose not to. With the missing comedic presence of Tucker in Next Friday, Ice Cube and his production company, Cube Vision, brought on Mike Epps to play the humorous Day. During an interview with the Full Send podcast, the West Coast rap legend revealed how much Tucker passed up on, as well as the reasoning behind it. He said it was for religious reasons. He continued, "He didn't want to cuss and he didn't want to smoke weed on camera." Although Ice Cube recognized Tucker's impact on Friday, he admitted that he's content with how everything ultimately worked out. "But I'm glad he didn't do it 'cause we wouldn't have Mike," he said. "Mike, to me, is funnier." The turn of events worked out in both comedians' favor. While Epps had his breakout movie role, Tucker starred in Rush Hour 2, which was released a year after Next Friday, and grossed over $300 million worldwide, according to IMDb. Integrity seems to be a core belief for Tucker. He recalled once stepping away from Hollywood despite being the highest paid actor at the time because he wanted to focus on providing humanitarian aid. In 2023, Tucker returned to the big screen as Howard White in Ben Affleck's Air, a movie about Michael Jordan's monumental partnership with Nike.
I guess after all these years, Ice Cube thought he should explain it because a lot of people probably thought they had a falling out, and that's not the case. It was Chris Tucker who didn't want to appear in the movie for religious reasons and other reasons. The next clip is Attorney Brian Steele making his argument to Judge Glanville, who was not really hearing him. Let's take a listen to his argument.
State of Georgia. Why? State of Georgia. How about the witness? How about Mr. Copeland, who supposedly announced he's not testifying and he'll sit for 2 years, and then supposedly this honorable court, okay, or excuse me, let me rephrase that. This court supposedly said, I can hold you until the end of this trial. Ms. Hilton supposedly said actually all of the defendants and then all 26 people are disposed of. If that's true, what this is coercion, witness intimidation, ex parte communications that we have a constitutional right to be present for. So I understand that you're upset towards me, but I don't know what I did. Mr. Steele, I still want to know, how did you come upon this information? Who told you? What I want to know is, why wasn't I there? Why, sir, I'm going to hold you in contempt if you don't tell me who this, tell me who this information was. I want to be held in contempt. Well, then answer that question. That's attorney-client privilege information. I am not attorney-client privilege unless you were in my chambers. That's the only way you can figure out. I tell you what, I'm going to give you 5 minutes. If you don't tell me who if you don't tell me who it is, I'm going to put you. I'm going to put you in contempt because that is not attorney-client privilege. Attorney work product privilege. I am not. How did you get that information supposedly from my chambers? Did somebody tell you? I'm not. You should have told me.
So Judge Glanville clearly slipped, and I caught it because he said, if you don't tell me, I'm going to put you in. You know, when you say, I'm going to put you really speaking a little bit of ebonics there. You know, that's street language. I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to do that to you. And then he reeled it back, and he simmered down and calmed down, and so clearly he was mad. He was mad as hell. He wasn't listening to any arguments. He could not see logic until Ashley Merchant stepped into that courtroom, laid down how the law is supposed to work in this case. And then they went to the courts of appeal with their argument. And the courts of appeal said, okay, we're going to appoint a new judge to listen to the argument of whether or not Attorney Brian Steele should have been put in jail and should have been held in contempt. And also, now that more than 3 people are calling for Judge Glanville's removal, they have to look into that argument also. So if the appellate court comes back with a decision in favor of Mr. Steele, Brian Steele, the totality of what is the consequence for Glanville is far-reaching, because clearly this was a case of witness intimidation. The state attorney and the court, the judge, had this young man in the judge's chamber, threatening him that if he did not testify against YSL, he was going to be put in jail until all the defendants had their hearing and the cases were over, and that could take years. So clearly that is witness intimidation and also coercion. And by the way, just to show that they were serious, when he was asked how old he was and he pleaded the fifth, he was put in jail for a day. So the next day when he came to court, he straightened out a little bit because of his jail experience for that one day and a night. And he attempted to answer the questions as truthfully as he possibly could, but he didn't plead the fifth after that. That's what Mr. Steele, Attorney Steele, was trying to tell him. You need to have a judge sit in to determine if I'm doing something wrong by not telling you who gave me the information. But another judge clearly needs to be in on this, because you putting me in jail without a hearing, without due process, without me even having an attorney present, obviously is unlawful. So the appellate court made it so Mr. Steele does not have to do any jail time for 10 weekends. Every weekend for 10 weekends. That was the order. The appellate court said no. You're going to be granted bail. We're going to look into these charges, and then we're going to let you and Judge Glanville know the outcome. But in the meantime, you're free on bail. So Copeland, the star witness who was supposed to testify against YSL, when the state brought him into the court, he turned and he became a hostile witness, refusing to testify and pleading the fifth. So the state reminded him that he could not plead the fifth because he has immunity. Well, his attorney was out of town. But in the interim, another attorney was assigned to his case, and the attorney's name is Caleb Bumpus. So when this ex parte meeting took place, attorney Caleb Bumpus was in that ex parte meeting. So it has been alleged that it was attorney Caleb Bumpus who told attorney Brian Steele that a meeting took place without his knowledge. And that's where he got the information from, allegedly. So Judge Glanville wanted to know who told him. I guess he wanted to get that person disbarred, or some type of consequences would be placed upon that person for releasing that information. But attorney Steele refused to give the name of the person, and then subsequently he was thrown in jail. Well, not jail like we know it. He was taken in the back. But he was arrested, under arrest. You guys know there's a holding cell in the courthouse. You know, when they bring in the prisoners, they got to put them somewhere. Well, it's a holding cell, and that's where attorney Brian Steele was placed. And I guess that was supposed to put a fear of God in him, because at the end of the day, he was brought back and was asked the same question by Judge Glanville. Are you going to tell me who told you that information? He said, nah, I ain't telling you squat. Well, I'm paraphrasing. So Judge Glanville sentenced him right then and there. 10 weekends in jail for you not telling me that information. I don't know how you guys feel about the case, but I think this judge is out of control. This judge is trying to strong arm everybody. I think he should be taken off the case and the case moved to another county. So when you guys thought the circus was over, a couple of days after, Mr. Copeland, the witness, fired Caleb Bumpus and told the judge he does not want her representing him any further. So clearly this case have a lot of twists and turns. But right now it's in limbo whether or not this case will even be continuing. So then Copeland's attorney wrote a letter to the court, a very strong letter, admonishing the judge for exposing his client, because he said in the letter the court exposed his client to retaliation and put his life in danger.
Who told you? What I want to know is, why wasn't I there? Why, sir, I'm going to hold you in contempt if you don't tell me who this. Tell me who this information is. I want to be held in contempt. Well, then answer that question. That's attorney-client privilege information. I am not attorney-client privilege unless you were in my chambers. That's the only way you can figure out. I tell you what, I'm going to give you 5 minutes. If you don't tell me, if you don't tell me who it is, I'm going to put you. I'm going to put you in contempt, because that is not attorney-client privilege. Attorney work product privilege. I am not. How did you get that information supposedly from my chambers? Did somebody tell you? I'm not. You should have told me. You got 5 minutes. Well, I don't need it. I want to continue. You got 5 minutes? This is what I was told. Mr. Copeland says, Mr. Copeland made statements that he admitted.
So what do you guys think? Witness intimidation, coercion? That's what it seems like. Why would a judge meet in chambers ex parte, excluding the defense, excluding YSL's lawyer? It's kind of suspect, isn't it? It really sounds like coercion to me. So these were the choices Mr. Copeland was presented with. Either he sits in jail until all the defendants have been heard in their trial, which can be the next 2 years or more than that, play ball with a prosecuting attorney, or you are going to go to jail. Which one would you choose? I mean, he was between a rock and a hard place. And let's face it, by him even testifying against YSL, even if he wants to recant statements and plead the fifth and all of that, there's a bounty on his head right now, allegedly. So now a lot of the attorneys involved in the case and even off the case wants Judge Glanville off the case because Judge Glanville seems to be biased. He is pretty much playing on one team behind the scenes, behind closed doors, because Attorney Brian Steele is absolutely correct. He should have been in that meeting. So Attorney Brian Steele, YSL's attorney, Attorney Brian Steele got a get out of jail free card.
Now at 5, the historic, painstakingly long trial involving Atlanta rapper Young Thug is now totally in limbo.
Defense attorneys want the judge kicked off the case altogether. Now the trial is on hold. Atlanta News First, Rachel Aragon, live at 5 from the Fulton County Courthouse for us. Rachel, 18 months of work with anyone's guess how this will end?
Yeah, and several defense attorneys have filed motions trying to get Judge Glanville off this historically long case. They allege, though, in those motions that Judge Glanville had an improper hearing last month, and they also claim he favors the prosecution. But now, 18 months in, it's anyone's guess how this will all shape out. The big question in a historically long YSL trial, what happens if Judge Ural Glanville is removed?
What happens to the entirety of the case, and since he didn't recused before.
The case can move in many directions since it's currently on hold until a judge rules on whether to recuse Judge Glanville.
We've gamed everything out. We know what we're going to do based on all the options that could happen.
Defense attorney Doug Weinstein, who represents co-defendant Diamante Kendrick, says there's no telling when a jury could be back at the courtroom. Right now, the case could be the hands of several judges.
You've got the initial judge who's going to decide whether Chief Judge Glanville should be recused. And then you've got the judge that comes in to replace Chief Judge Glanville. And then that judge will decide, what do I do now? Do I just sub in and continue? Is there a mistrial? What do we do?
While Weinstein has filed one of the motions to recuse Judge Glanville,
I attempted to, for example, put a clock on the prosecution, limit the number of witnesses.
He also filed other motions to speed up the trial that's dragged on for months.
They should have had bond the entirety of the time.
Several YSL defense attorneys say if Judge Glanville is recused, they would request their clients be released on bond. But what about the jurors who've been sitting in the courtroom for about 7 months and now in limbo?
Who wouldn't feel sorry for these poor jurors who've been yanked in and out of court?
Well, Judge Glanville made clear yesterday he has no idea when a ruling will be made by a different judge on those motions to recuse, and he has no control over that matter. We're live in downtown Atlanta. Rachel Aragon, Atlanta News First.
Yes, indeed. We are all feeling sorry for the jurors because I'm sure a lot of them have jobs. Do they still have those jobs, I wonder? That is the question. As you leave the page, don't forget to hit the like bell and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so as yet. Also, turn on your notification bell so when I drop the next video, you'll be the first one to be notified. Thank you for watching.